Right now, somewhere in Calgary, a homeowner is getting ready to list their house. They've done their research, they know what their neighbor sold for, they've even picked a number that feels right. And they are about to make a mistake that's going to cost them somewhere between $15,000 and $40,000. And it's not because the market's bad, it's not because they didn't try, it's because nobody told them that the rules have changed.
In March of this year, nearly 80% of Calgary homes sold under list price. 80%. Most of those sellers had no idea what was coming. The question is, are you one of them? Before we get into it, I'm Andrew Pollard. This is Riley Nichols. We're with the BRIX Real Estate Group, and we've done over $600 million in real estate transactions and built over 275 five-star Google reviews doing it. We do things a little differently on this channel. No hype, no predictions dressed up as facts, just what's actually happening in the market and what it means for you.
So if that's useful, hit subscribe. We put out real content consistently every single week. So let's get into it. So let's go back to 2023. If you owned a home in Calgary in 2023, you could basically do whatever you wanted. You could list it on Thursday, have 14 offers by Sunday, pick the best one, and you're done. Typically, we're seeing no conditions, no inspections, buyers waiving everything just to get in the door. And that market was real, and it happened. And it created a belief system that a lot of sellers are still carrying into 2026. The belief that the market works for them, that buyers are just going to compete, that the right number is somewhere above asking just because they want it. And that belief system is costing people real money right now.
And here's the thing, it's not the seller's fault for believing it. Because from the outside, the market still looks strong. Prices haven't collapsed. You're still hearing about homes selling fairly quickly in some parts. And the headlines aren't screaming recession. So sellers assume everything's fine. But there's a real gap between what the market looks like and what it actually is. And in that gap is where tens of thousands of dollars quietly disappear. We're gonna show you exactly what shifted, what sellers are getting wrong because of it, and most importantly, the two things that will determine whether you walk away from your sale with everything the market has to offer or whether you leave money behind.
So stay with us because the next part is where most people's assumptions completely fall apart. Here's what actually changed. In October 2023, bidding wars were happening in 92% of Calgary neighborhoods. By March of this year, nearly 80% of homes were selling for under asking price. Let that land for a second. A complete paradigm shift from then until now. We went from a market where buyers were fighting over your home, waiving every protection they had, throwing money at sellers just to be chosen, to a market now where the average home is closing 1.88% below list price. On a $700,000 home, that's $13,000 left on the table before negotiations even start. And that's the average. You could maybe go on an extra vacation every year for another $13K.
Inventory went from around 4,500 active listings in mid-2024 to almost 5,500 units heading into March of this year. That's a 4.7% increase year over year and a significant multi-year high. But the number that really tells us the story, months of supply. Right now, Calgary's sitting at 2.87 months. That's up 20% year over year. And what that means in plain language, buyers have time. They have options, and they are no longer making panic decisions. And when buyers stop panicking, they start negotiating.
So what does that mean for you? Conditions are back. Home inspections, financing clauses, sale of buyer's home conditions, things that were basically extinct during the boom. Buyers are now putting them back into their contracts. They're finding problems with houses, asking sellers to fix things or drop the price. And when sellers say no, buyers leave and they find something else. Because now, in this market, there is something else to find. But here's what we really need you to understand. The shift is not happening equally across the market. There's a divide happening right now in Calgary real estate that most sellers don't even know exists. And if you're in the wrong segment with the wrong strategy, the damage can be really significant.
All right, let's talk detached homes. That's still the tightest part of the current market. About 2.2 months of supply. Benchmark price is around $741,000 in Calgary proper. That's down 3% year over year, but still the most competitive segment. Townhouses and row houses are a little more balanced. We have almost 3 months of supply. Benchmark around $425,000, which is down about 6%. And then there's condos.
The condo market right now is a completely different conversation. 4.62 months of supply, benchmark price around 300K, and down just over 9% year over year. Inventory levels are approaching record highs we haven't seen since, you guessed it, 2008. If you own a condo and you're thinking about selling in 2026, unfortunately, you're not in the same market as your neighbor in a detached home. Not even close. Now, knowing all of that, you'd think sellers would adjust their strategy accordingly, but most aren't. And the mistakes they're making are so predictable, we can tell you exactly how each one plays out before it happens. And that's what's next. Mistake 1, overpricing.
A seller looks at what their neighbor sold for in 2023, adds what they've spent on renovations, adds a buffer to leave room to negotiate, and lands on a number that has nothing to do with today's market. And their agent sometimes, or a lot of the time, lets them do that. Because saying yes is easier than losing the listing. But here's the thing about overpricing in this market today.
You don't slowly drift toward the right number. You don't get lowball offers that you counter. You get silence. No one even comes to look at your house. The list to sale ratio right now is sitting at 97 to 98%. The market is already discounting. If you price above that range trying to create wiggle room, we call that aspirational pricing, you're not leaving room, you're leaving the conversation entirely. Buyers don't engage with overpriced homes anymore. They skip them. And while your home sits, something happens that you can't undo. You lose something called momentum. And momentum is everything. Once you lose it, you don't get it back.
A home that's been sitting for 45 days is a different product than a home that's just been listed, even if they're identical. The market has memory, buyers have memory, and they see days on market and assume something's wrong with that home. You keep reducing the price, and now you keep confirming their suspicion the longer you've been on market. And the final sale price is almost always lower than where you should have started and would have finished. Mistake 2 is waiting for spring.
Here's the thing about the spring market. Everybody wants it, everyone waits for it, and every year sellers convince themselves that listing in spring means more buyers, more competition, and better offers. And they're not wrong that there are more buyers. But here's what they miss. Every other seller who is waiting for spring is listing right now too. You are in that market today. This is the crowded room, June 7th, 2026. And in a crowded room, the homes that win aren't the ones that showed up. They're the ones that showed up prepared.
More inventory, more competition, more selective buyers with more options. Spring doesn't erase the fundamentals of the market, it amplifies them. Which means if your price is off, if your presentation isn't sharp, and if your strategy isn't dialed in, spring isn't going to save you. It's going to expose you even faster. Mistake 3 is ignoring presentation altogether.
So with 2.87 months of supply, buyers have real options. They're walking through multiple homes on a Saturday and making direct comparisons in real time. Dated photos, deferred maintenance, clutter. These aren't minor issues anymore. They're the reason a buyer chooses the other house. Homes now either hit or they sit. There is no slow burn, no give it a few weeks. It hits hard in the first 7 to 10 days or it bleeds out over the next 2 months.
Now you might be thinking, okay, I get it. The market shifted. These are the common mistakes. But how bad can it actually get if you get this wrong? The answer to that is the part most agents won't even tell you directly. So let us be direct about what happens when sellers get this wrong. You list too high, you lose those first 2 weeks, the most valuable window you have. You will sit, you will have to reduce, and you will sell below where you would have sold if you'd priced right on day 1.
You wait for spring. You list into a crowded market. Your home competes with 10 others in your price range. Same outcome. You skip staging. You use mediocre photos or a mediocre agent. Buyers assume the home was loved the same way the marketing was, which is to say, not very much. The math on these mistakes isn't small. With the average home already selling 2 to 3% below list price, overpricing by even a modest margin compounds fast. On a $600,000 home, that's $12,000 to $18,000 gone before you've negotiated a single thing. And that's before a buyer comes in with conditions, finds something during the inspection, and asks you to drop another $10K. We're talking $25,000 to $40,000 in avoidable losses on a transaction most people spend months preparing for emotionally and financially. And the worst part, the sellers that this happens to don't always know it even happened. They close the deal, they move on, they assume that's just what the market gave them. It wasn't. It was the cost of the wrong strategy.
But here's the thing. None of this is complicated to fix. The solution isn't some secret playbook. It's two things, and we're going to give them to you right now. Here's the truth about what sellers actually control in this market. It's just two things: price and presentation. You don't control interest rates. You don't control how many listings hit the market next week. You don't control what buyers qualified for or how they're feeling. But you control how your home shows up, and you control what number you put it on at. Get those two things right, and this market will work for you. Get them wrong, and the market doesn't care. Strategic pricing means doing the actual work, pulling real comps, understanding that the current list to sale ratio is 97 to 98%, knowing which segment you're in, because a detached home and a condo are playing two completely different games right now, and pricing to generate activity, not to leave room.
And the sellers who price correctly from day one don't sit, they don't reduce, and they also don't negotiate from a position of weakness. They create competition, even in this market, even with 5,400 active listings. Because when a home is priced right and it shows beautifully, it still stands out. Buyers still move fast and offers still come in clean. That part of the market didn't disappear. It just got smaller. And the homes that get it, they capture almost everything. Strategic presentation means your home photographs like it belongs in a magazine. The small repairs are done. There's no deferred maintenance. The clutter is gone. A buyer walks in and immediately feels like this is the one because you made them feel that. In a market where buyers have options and are ruthlessly comparative, the homes that present best win. And it really is that simple. When both of those things are dialed in, you don't hand money back to a buyer in negotiations because they found every flaw you ignored. You sell, and you sell quickly for what the market will actually give you, which, when it's done right, is still a very strong number.
Now look, Calgary is still one of the strongest real estate markets in this country. The benchmark price is $565,600. The market hasn't crashed. It's corrected. It's reset back to something sustainable. But it is a different market. And different markets require different thinking. The sellers who adjust win. The sellers who don't become the cautionary tale their neighbor talks about at dinner. So if you're thinking of selling in 2026, even just thinking about it, the worst thing you can do is go in without knowing what your specific home is actually worth in today's market. Not what Zillow says, not what your neighbor sold for 2 years ago or even 6 months ago, but what a qualified buyer will actually pay for your home in your segment today.
And that is what we do. Our team will walk you through a real pricing analysis, tell you exactly what needs to happen before you list your home, and give you an honest read on your timeline and your number. This isn't pressure, this isn't pitch, this is literally just clarity. We've done this over 600 million times. We know how it goes when sellers get it right, and we also know exactly how it goes when they don't. If you want to be in the first group, the link is in the description. Takes 30 seconds to connect with us, and we'll talk to you soon.